thing. This first, just what's your writing background, Ross? How'd you get into writing?
Yeah, so it was around the time I was about to graduate college. I didn't know for sure what I was going to do. And I had triple majored at Nebraska, and one of those majors was journalism. And I decided to apply for some journalism internships, like kind of right before I graduated. I didn't even write for my school newspaper, and I got one in Detroit for Crane's Detroit Business. So that was like my first job where I was publishing writing. But I was also working on my first book at the time, which eventually became The Sex Effect. But I didn't have like a publisher, or I didn't even have the manuscript finished. That was something I was doing on the side. So I felt like to make that happen, I needed to have some bylines, and I started out in the B2B business magazine world, and then from there I started writing for consumer publications like Esquire and Business Insider.
Okay. What do you do now?
Yeah, so my main job is market research. I'm an analyst at eMarketer, where I cover streaming services. So I'm writing reports on like Netflix and YouTube and Hulu, talking to the press, talking to advertisers about it. But then I still write, books like 1999, which just came out on the side. But I kind of have to do that in my free time. So
Yeah.
my other job pays the bills because I did freelance writing for a while, like just
Yep.
writing for Rolling Stone or whoever would pay me. And that, man, that's tough, especially once you start having kids to
Yeah.
have that regular income. So now I have more of a corporate job, but I've been fortunate that I've had the time. I probably won't have it anymore because I have, a second kid, but I had the time to write three books while I've been doing this job.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I've same deal. I've got the 9 to 5 kind of corporate kind of job. Won't name the place because they don't really like us to, so I won't do that. But I do have the your typical 9 to 5, and then it's carving out time for the passions and stuff. And luckily my 9 to 5 is very flexible, great company, great, paid time off, that kind of thing. So, if I'm not using paid time off for vacation with my wife and our one child, that kind of thing, more often than not, it's taking off work to go do like right now I'm starting on a new book project with a town over from me, but really centered on their high school football program. So I'm spending a lot of time with them. The last few years, it's been in the town that I live in has a neighborhood that was born out of the New Deal and is a National Register of
Hmm.
Historic Places community, and that's the book that I had that just came out. So for the last 3 years, most of my PTO that I took was to go to our local library and sit in the archives room for 8 hours and research, and then right at night at this same spot I'm sitting right now. So
Yep.
I totally get what that day to day looks like for you because I'm living it as well.
Well, I think a lot of authors do. It's not like clear when you're reading a book. You may get
Mm-hmm.
this idea that like everyone is a Jonathan Franzen or Malcolm Gladwell, like that like makes a killing and they can just do this
Yeah.
project they want. But most people, even if they've had books that have done fairly well, they still have to have other work. And I find out even in New York, where media is very common, even there, a lot of them are working jobs that aren't at all related to their
Yeah.
book. Some of them aren't even in media or advertising whatsoever, because like we're normal people. Like if you
Yeah.
didn't have a big inheritance from your family or something, you gotta do something because the books a
Yep.
very small percentage of people are gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like it's funny the people you'll come across because like they only know you from a byline or from interviewing them or they see you at a book event or whatever, and they're like so this is what you do, like this is your job, and I'm like no. like like the company that I work for, like my 9 to 5, I've been there for almost 10 years,
Yeah.
and some of the people who know me pretty well from the book stuff, from the freelance journalism stuff, they're shocked when I tell them. They're like, "That's what like you have that kind of job?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for almost a decade now." And they have no idea because they know you from this side of your life,
Yep.
not that side of your life, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people I know from book writing, like they don't even know I do the market research. And then on the other side, I've been at my company 7.5 years, and like I did, after I put out this book, they didn't. It's only because they saw me mentioned on LinkedIn. They're like, I didn't even know you wrote books or like had freelance journalism.
Yeah.
And I've been working with them for 7 years, so it goes like on both directions where
Yes.
people have no idea you're doing this other thing.
It's like we're living two lives somehow.
Yeah, but not as cool as Batman.
Not definitely not as cool as Batman. Does that market research? We'll start getting into some of your book stuff, but does that market research does that help you in any way? Like when you are writing, like for this new book, this 1999 book, does that skill set come into play at all, or what?
Um, Not a ton. It helped more with this book than it did with the others because this one was about pop culture. So I think I have a better understanding of like the workings of the entertainment business and how
Yeah,
regulation has affected um, TV production and like what why advertising matters and how it influences what programming is produced, which informs some of my writing on these like pop cultural trends in the book. But overall, the skills that I'm using of like data analysis, not as used in this book as much because it's just not like a business book or a
yeah,
data book. Um, but what it does help is that I'm constantly writing stuff. And like having to produce on a deadline. So,
yeah,
I haven't lost that skill. And it's it's also makes me be flexible in the types of writing I do. So,
yeah,
um, not everything is an article or not everything is a, pop culture book. The fact that I'm having to do different stuff, I think makes me be adaptable for when I take on a book and it's completely unrelated. But overall, I wish there was more overlap. Like if this was a book about Netflix, like it would have been like, if this was a book about the business of Netflix, like I could have done it at work, on the clock. But
right.
I haven't
When
gotten those two to converge yet.
Convergent, yeah. No, I get that. Like my books, the one that I just had came out. I'm looking across at my shelf, but it's my seventh book, and like my stuff's kind of all over the place a little bit. Like I've got two history books, two fiction books because I just wanted to try it because I'm not the biggest fiction reader.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to try it because I had a couple of ideas. One book is a book of it's like 75 or so, just kind of like short articles, a lot of inspirational stories from people that I've kind of encountered in a journalism career. Uh, a book about a wheelchair ramp ministry in Florida that my wife's father actually started, and they've now built more than 700 ramps in the panhandle of Florida for folks in need for free. A book about a dog,
Hmm.
and my latest one is a big old history book. So I'm kind of all over the place as well. Like started out wanting to just do sports and don't truly have a sports book yet, although that's what will be next. So we're chameleons, I guess.
Yeah. And it sounds like is some of your work like is it commissioned? Like that town history?
Well, no. So like town history stuff, like I don't want to give myself this title, but if you ask the people in the city that I live in, Trussville, Alabama, if you ask the current folks, like my age range to I don't know, to let's just say to 60, they would say probably that if not I'm one of the city's historians.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
there was a fellow before me who has since passed, but he was the city's historian. I mean, he I would not know nearly what I know today without the research he did first. So I'm just kind of picking up the torch and running with it, right? So no, not commissioned to, just stuff I've wanted to do. And there's obviously a with this latest book, yeah, it's going to be the most people that are going to get it are the people that live here. So
Yeah.
it's kind of drilled down into Trussville, Alabama, but it's a very national story from the lens of the Great Depression, New Deal, FDR, all those projects that took place in the 1930s across the country. Because the housing project that we have here is still largely intact, and it was very likely the most unique one in the entire country. So it's a drilled down local story, but it tells something greater nationally that a lot of people can they'll understand if they're history folks.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's talk about 1999.
Yeah, sure.
Let's,
Well, what you
the,
want to
the
know?
so it's 1999, the year low culture conquered America and kickstarted our bizarre times.
It's a
That's
long one.
fun. I understand. The one that I had just come out, I just tell people I don't even read the subhead to mine
Yeah.
because it's so long. So it came out when?
April.
April of this year. Okay. How'd you get the idea for it?
Well, I've been wanting to write about like trashy entertainment for a while. I was actually working on it before I did my last book, and I just put it on the back burner. But it's just there's a lot of insane moments in the last 6 years, like just in our country, in the news, in politics, in business, that would remind me of some aspect of like trashy entertainment I loved as a kid. So I just kind of tried to coalesce around that theme of like, how does the pro wrestling and Jerry Springer and Insane Clown Posse stuff that I grew up and loved with, where am I seeing that percolate throughout society? And yeah, enough of those. There was no eureka moment, but like enough of those things happen. You know, enough Jerry Springer like moments would happen where I'm like, I think we're living in a world shaped more by that than we are by like all the revered pop culture of the '90s, and it felt like a good time to look at the '90s because every show I liked as a kid is getting a reboot. So I thought maybe there'd be some interest in this stuff.
Yeah. What was that research process like? Like to pick like the certain things from 1999, the Vince McMahon's, the Jerry Springers, stuff like that. Like, how did you land on certain people or certain groups?
Yeah, well, I'll say this is the most fun research out of like my books. Like, if I had a book on sex research, I had a book on Nebraska politics. This one, I'm not tired of the material yet. Like the other books, by the time the book comes out, even by the time I'm done with the manuscript, I don't want to read another book on the topic. I don't want to watch another documentary on it. Now, like I love '90s stuff. I'm a '90s kid, so if there's a new pro wrestling documentary coming out, I still want to watch it. But the way I would start is I would start with like I knew I wanted to do pro wrestling. So I had a lot of familiarity with it already. I've already seen a lot of those documentaries, read a lot of those books. So I'm coming in with a pretty strong knowledge base. But I would read like 3 or 4 books, usually journalism or history books on the topic to kind of get me going with it. And I would do that with each topic where I would, start to read a book and that would lead me to like articles and documentaries. And I was just always, for 2, 3 years, I was always taking notes on my phone or on my computer where if I read something or thought of something, I would just like put it in a huge document and collect
Yeah.
it. But, I read a lot of archival material. Most of my research, it's secondhand. So I'm not interviewing people or producing, super original reporting or research, but I'm collecting everything. I'm just becoming an omnivore where like I'm reading every book on the Insane Clown Posse or early online porn or Beanie Babies and trying to make with it what I can. but the topics it wasn't like totally Jerry Springer was clear, Insane Clown Posse was clear. I didn't know for sure I would do a chapter on video games, but the more I read about the 90s, the more, because I think of video games today, they're not condemned, but they were so condemned in the 90s. So I was
Yeah,
like, well, I should do a chapter on video games. I thought about doing a chapter on infomercials because of stuff like Miss Cleo and Girls Gone Wild, but I couldn't think of anything interesting to say about them other than like they were
sure.
trashy and popular. So I would watch a lot of infomercials and documentaries on them and interviews with people and read all these old articles, but then I had nothing. So sometimes you go on a dead end. But I had an idea at least of the core of what I wanted to do coming in, which is helpful because I don't for the four books I've done, I don't always have an idea like that when I'm
Yeah.
coming into it.
On the wrestling side, like I wasn't a big wrestling fan, but do you know the author John Finkel? Do you know
Oh yeah, he wrote
you're
the
John?
Macho Man book, right?
Did you read it?
I haven't read it. I've seen him do interviews. I've read an excerpt. I haven't read the book yet though.
Okay. I haven't got that one yet, but he also did that. I'm looking at it over here, but like he also did a book about 1996, just the year
Yep.
of sports in 1996. I thought that was interesting. They all got you're just kind of trashy pop culture. His is sports, but like it's very much 90s, and then this wrestling book as well. I
We
wondered
have
if
the
you.
same literary agent.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I don't know him, but we have the same agent. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. Small world. Small world.
But that probably helps explain why the books are shaped in a similar way,
That's
like the
true.
'96 book and the '99 book.
Yeah. How did you like? Who came up with the design for your 99 book? Because this is like super cool and
Oh,
catchy and colorful. Like it's really cool just to look at, you know?
yeah, I appreciate that. I thought they did a really good job. It's the um, Kansas University Press art team. So Carl Jansen would be the lead of that team. I told him an idea of what I wanted, and I like what I did is I think I took like JPEGs of probably 10 books that kind of had like a similar collage sort of
Yeah.
situation and said like I kind of want to do something like this, but like can you put these people. Like I wanted, like I want Vince McMahon, I want the Insane Clown Posse. Originally, I had like I wanted it to almost be like Sergeant Pepper's. Like here's like 20 people, put them on the book cover in an interesting way. But this is what was like feasible. So he just came back with that with. I think he made the colors are kind of make you think of the '90s, like a Saved by the Bell sort of
Yeah.
backdrop, and that was the only mock-up I saw, but I liked it. So I was like, yeah, that's great. I thought they did a really good job, especially for an academic press. Like a lot of academic press
True.
book covers would just be like, here's a still photograph of like Jerry Springer, and that's it,
Right.
But they made it look
Yeah.
like fun and kitschy, which I appreciate.
Yeah. They did a really good job. I love the Beanie Baby like sitting on Vince McMahon's shoulder.
Yeah, that's all them. That's I wanted a Beanie Baby in there, but I didn't tell them where to put it, and they just like kind of dropped it in there.
So funny. How long like when did you kind of start the book? How long did the process take for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I wrote some of the chapters like 2015 and 16 probably, but then I stopped and did Rural Rebellion about Nebraska. But then when I was like, I actually want to do this full time, I started doing this. Let me think here, probably mid to late 20, probably like the end of 2021 is probably when I started like writing it. For sure 2022. So I would put it at like a 3 year process probably.
Yeah.
Academic press. Even once you agree to it and you submit a manuscript, it's not going to like publish the next day. So,
Right.
but I've
Yeah.
been working on and off on it. I guess 9 years probably. But there was a 6 year period where I just did something else and dropped it altogether. But like hardcore at it, probably about 3 years.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Like the one that I just had come out was I mean, it was probably in earnest. It was a 3 year process of like, okay, I'm interviewing people and I'm writing and I'm researching. But there was a good close to 2 year period before that where it was just me being a sponge for the topic. It was meeting people, getting to know some culture stuff, just kind of getting the vibe from different people and places, and kind of like every now and then looking up something about that area, or going into the archives and being like, I wonder about this, just for my own knowledge. And then, at the end of those close to 2 years, it was like, let me just look at what an rough outline could look like.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there looking and I'm like, oh, I've got an actual like legitimate, like, this isn't some long article, this isn't a magazine article. I was like, this is a book. And then yeah, about a 3 year process to really do the dang thing, basically.
And that sounds like a probably pretty standard experience for like a nonfiction book.
Yeah, I think so. What was the goal of this book for you?
I mean, the goal was I actually wanted to do something like more popular. My goal would have been like Random House or something like that, and get a big advance and eventually have the book turn into some sort of docu-series. But I didn't hit any of those. But what I wanted to do though was that's my commercial goal. And I'm sure everyone has that type of goal.
Sure.
And very few hit it. But what I wanted to accomplish with it, like editorially, was to give like a pretentious look at the lowest grade entertainment, like elevating the shittiest stuff that like I liked as a kid. I
Yeah.
just like the idea of like highbrow takes on lowbrow culture. That's what I was going for.
Okay. Why 1999?
Uh, well, a lot of the stuff I wanted to write about just happened to peak in the late '90s. So when I started, collecting all these things, there was some '80s pop culture I thought about, even some '70s, but overwhelmingly most of them were in the '90s. And then when I would look at it, they had some sort of significant event happen in '99, like pro wrestling, like WWE went public and their ratings peaked. Video games, you had the fallout from Columbine, and it just seemed like the more I read, because it wasn't centered around a year until like the very end of the manuscript. The more I read, it just seemed like the pop culture in '99 was the craziest of that era. Like you could write a similar book about '97 or
Yeah.
2001, but there's something about like the Y2K era
That's
happening.
that's what I was gonna ask. Do you think
Yeah.
Y2K played into 1999 being kind of the craziest moments?
Yeah, I do because like there were all these like just kitschy fades that people were trying and stunts. So like by kitschy things, like people have this crazy belief in technology in the late '90s, and I feel like it's like part of it's like we're getting to the new millennium, and we got movies like The Matrix, and we're investing in dot coms that aren't worth anything because they have the name, they have a dot com in them. People pouring money into Beanie Babies and buying them on eBay because these websites, these
Yeah.
online price guides are telling them that they're worth way more than they are. Like you would just because 1999 is on the precipice of 2000, like just people were following any harebrained technology trend more so than they even usually do. So that made that made the dot com bubble sillier. It made Beanie Baby sillier. But then you also have the like stunts. Like there was like four porn stars, or at least three, that tried to have sex with as many men as possible
Oh
before the new
god.
year. There were like you know what there was like all these just pop culture stunts, like this guy who made a bunch of money in the dot com bubble made this art series called We Live in Public, where he gathered a bunch of people in an underground bunker in New York City and filmed everything they did because it was like an art installation about reality TV as reality TV was starting.
Wow.
Like that, all those things like happened because we were gonna go into the new millennium.
Yeah.
And you didn't have that strangeness quite as much Um, like if you did 98, you'd have similar pop culture and similar trends, but just not quite as over the top.
Yeah. I'm looking over here. What's your favorite movie from 1999?
The Matrix, I still
The
like it,
Matrix.
and back then I loved it too. So it left a impression on me as a kid, and it's still one of my favorites. What about
Okay.
you?
I think okay. I'm gonna go with, I guess I'll say a tie, but like two very different directions. Because I'm a '90s kid as well, and having a kid now who is in this age, it's bringing it back. So like Toy Story 2. I'm just no shame, no shame.
Yeah,
Toy
that's a
Story
great
2,
movie. I love Toy Story movies.
and for me, probably The Sixth Sense.
Mm.
Like just because, I mean, if you haven't watched it by now, what are you doing? But like, just what you learn at the end. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I
it's
don't think anyone is gonna listen to this and be like,
you
"Wow,
spoiled
Bruce
it.
Willis." Yeah, I think that the cat's
But
out of the bag on that one.
yeah, like I don't know, that one was just like a very eerie, like kind of cool movie. Like I don't know, it was one of my favorites. What video games came out in 1999? Because I've got one in mind, but I don't know if it
Hmm.
came out then.
So,
Let's see. I'm
yeah,
searching that. Go for it. Keep.
so the Pokemon games were like what were the best sellers. Like, there was a bunch of Pokemon games on Game Boy and on Nintendo 64. Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Oh
was a huge one
yes,
that came out in '99. That's probably my favorite game
I
um,
love Tony Hawk
to
Pro
release in that
Skater.
year. The Dreamcast came out, so like you had all the
Yep.
games that came out with the launch of the Dreamcast. I think like Crazy Taxi would have launched, Jet Grind Radio, like those 2K sports, like NFL 2K, which doesn't even exist because Madden has the NFL license now, NBA
Yeah,
2K, College Football 2K. So Sonic Adventure for
that was
Dreamcast
fun.
would have came out. Trying to
Okay,
think,
I've
Siphon
got an.
Filter maybe. I don't know.
This is going to be incredibly niche. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater, hands down for me. That game, like I will still go play that. But I was looking because I couldn't remember the years because I was very big on. I love every Crash Bandicoot game
Oh yeah, those are
because
huge.
there's so much fun, and it looks like the one that I would still play today, like because most of those your adventure, your leveling, and all that. But the Crash Team Racing, that was like its own take on Mario
Hmm.
Kart. That one
Yeah.
came out in '99. I'll still play that now if I can. Like that was so much fun. Such a fun game, man. So how did 1999? How did like you take 1999? You look at it from then going forward. How did that year maybe shift culture in America, change culture in America? How do you kind of see that?
Well, when I see it with something like Jerry Springer peaking around that time, it became very clear that Americans like shock and sensation over substance, and that just keeping people's attention goes such a long way, no matter
Yeah,
what you're saying. And it just seems like there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the lowest common denominator stuff that people consumed back then. Like with video games. There was a moral panic, people freaking out, blaming crimes on video games then.
yeah,
I mean, you see that every generation with the new media format. So it's not like one specific thing, but I guess my takeaway is just that, as the barriers of like media participation get lower, like, anyone can put anything on the internet now. It's not like the old days with gatekeepers. People have tended to go towards that low grade stuff, and I think the themes from it are just prevalent in today's world. The storylines of pro wrestling manifest themselves in presidential debates now. It's very strange.
yeah. It is strange, man. What's your favorite band from 1999? Favorite song, something like
Ooh,
that. I
yeah,
need to look this stuff up.
I should favorites. I don't know if it's my favorite, but once I was thinking Smash Mouth All Star was huge in
Oh,
'99.
hey now, hey now.
Yeah, that was probably like my favorite song when I was 10. But my favorite album that would have came out in '99 would have been Dr. Dre, Chronic 2001. That would have been
Okay,
what I was listening to a lot, um, that era. And then like band, you know, I probably like Red Hot Chili Peppers in that era
they were big.
would have been one of the bands I would have been super into. Aside from the hip hop, I also liked Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah,
Um, you know, they came out with the Amazing Jekyll Brothers. It's an acquired taste. It's not going to have as many fans as Dr.
sure,
Dre or
sure.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I was really into the Amazing Jekyll Brothers album back
Okay,
in
yeah.
1999.
I'd probably go. I mean, I know I would go Blink 182.
Hmm.
Really, really starting off there.
Was that the
Make
What's My Age Again era?
What's My Age Again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Foo Fighters I go back and forth on, but definitely Blink 182 and probably that first Eminem LP that
Oh
came
yeah.
out, just the Slim Shady stuff.
Yeah. That was
99 was a
awesome.
big year.
You know
Big,
what
big
was
year.
actually the album I probably listened to the most at the time. I don't know if it's a 99 album. It might be 98. Devil Without a Cause by Kid Rock was like so
Oh,
popular in Nebraska where I lived at the time.
let's see. I'm gonna see if I can see what year that came out.
I think it's 98.
Yeah, August 18th,
But I
1998.
would have been
But
listening
it
to it in
but it
99.
but it blew. It would have blown up in '99 for
Yeah, a lot of
sure.
those singles probably like,
Yeah,
Cowboy or Devil or Only God Knows Why. I think those probably
yeah.
were released as singles in 99.
People are still jamming "Ba Wit da Ba."
Yeah.
Man, that was a good album. Yeah, I mean, it says cultural peak was 1999.
Because
99
like
was a big year.
if you watch any of those MTV awards, as I walked back and I watched all the award shows from like 99,
Okay.
2000, um, most MTV stuff, but also like Grammys and Emmys and stuff. You can find most of it on YouTube. Kid Rock played at so many shows. Like it's crazy how popular he was at that moment.
Yeah, and somehow has still maintained the popularity just in different ways.
Yeah, he's really shifted.
It's just shooting Bud Lights and all sorts of stuff. Wild, man. So what else have you written? Like what other books do you have? You mentioned the book on Nebraska, and what else?
Yeah, and then I have two books on like the ways sex shapes our world in interesting ways. So like the sex effect was the first one. You'd find out things like how the military inadvertently um, turned San Francisco into a gay mecca by outing people and discharging them in an era when uh, there weren't many people who were out. So they would, there was just a lot of little facts like that. Like why is the priesthood a haven for, devout gay men? Why is porn shaping our technology? Why did monogamy get instituted by ancient Roman societies? There's all these like weird little intersections between law and technology and sex. That's what that looked at. And then the second one was Sex Weirdopedia, which is just a novelty book of the same shit.
Okay. And then the Rural Rebellion, how Nebraska became a Republican stronghold.
Yeah, that's a lot different project than the sex books. That's work in
Yeah,
journalism. I interviewed probably about 100 people, did a lot of research, and it's like showing how Nebraska and many states like it, like the region I'm from. And you could probably say this about some southern states as well, but especially the Great Plains area, like Nebraska, Iowa, the Dakotas, like
yeah,
Kansas, they were relatively purple in the 90s. They would have like mixed representation of Democrats and
sure.
Republicans in Congress, and races would be close, and those that won were moderate. And now all those states, especially Nebraska, are like very far right. Democrats don't win anything, even in the cities. So it's like, how did this place that would send Bob Kerrey to Congress and produce progressive elected officials become, so enamored with the Republican Party that like Democrats have no shot of winning anything there.
Yeah.
That region as a whole has gone that way. So that's what that book looked at.
Yeah. I like the substance that you kind of go into on whatever the topic might be. Like, these are, whether it be politics, sex, 1999, whatever, like people will, it's a TikTok era, so to speak, but I love when I find stuff of where someone has said, "Yes, you're talking about this, but let me really dive into the substance, the history, the why, that kind of thing of it." So
No, I
that's really
appreciate
cool.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the last two books were on academic presses, so they, um, the research I feel is fairly deep for them to want to do it. Might not do well in a TikTok era, but like the type of book I usually want to write is, got hundreds of footnotes in it.
Yeah. And it's important. Like, I don't know, like I feel like the book that I just had come out, I mean, that topic has been there forever, and I was kind of shocked that, like, the person I mentioned earlier that was kind of thought of as the city's historian that passed away, like him and his wife wrote a book in the '80s, and it just touched on pretty much every historical moment in the city, but largely focused on what my book that just came out is about. But I was shocked that nobody had done, honestly, like what I just did, like
Yeah.
because it is so big nationally, but it's been it's just been kind of, I don't want to say forgotten about. The people who live here or have been a part of it care about it and want to see it as it should be seen nationally, because it is nationally historic and it is largely intact. But I was just shocked that nobody had done it yet and had not taken the time to really focus on that substance. And because there is a lot of misinformation around here about what that place is, what it means, how historic it is, all these kind of things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And it's going to be the absolute definitive history of this place, stories, that kind of thing. It's going to set the record straight forever. That long after I'm gone, as long as this book's still, in circulation, people can learn about what this place is, what its intent was, what it still is today, that kind of thing. So big fan of substance. Big fan. What are you writing next?
I don't know. I'm taking a long break, indefinite break. I got a 3 month old and a 2 year old right now, so
Ooh, you're not getting much sleep.
no, I'm writing dirty diapers and playtime. That's what I'm writing for a while.
That's the good stuff, though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the good stuff.
I'll be with them for as much as I can for the next year at least.
That's awesome. Well, for these, we'll wrap this thing up. Well, say all the things. How do people get
Yeah,
get
sure
these
thing.
books? How do they follow you? That kind of deal.
Yeah, so well, you can get them, on any website that sells the books, but if you let me find the code. There's a code that if you go to the University Press Kansas website, it's like way cheaper. Let me just find this. Yeah, so sure, you could my book you could buy them, any website that sells books, but the cheapest option would probably be to go to the University Kansas Press website and use the code 24summer25. That should give you a significant discount if you want to buy a 1999 or my previous book, Rural Rebellion. And I'm on Twitter sometimes at Ross Benish. Otherwise, you can find me just at my website, rossbenish.com. I'm not on social media as much as I probably should be for my career, but being on it less is good for my sanity.
I understand that. People ask me that all. People ask me that all the time. How do you have time to put this here on Twitter, that there on Instagram or Facebook, whatever? And every time I'm like, I use those app schedulers, and
Yeah,
I'll take like one night a week, schedule all the stuff out, and then I'm gone.
save you a lot of headache.
Yes, yes. Save you some doom scrolling and all that
Yep,
crap, you
yep.
know? Yeah. Well, I appreciate you hopping on here, Ross, and talking about these books. It was good to learn about it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.